a whole lot. Trial, tribulation, but I know God.
Hey, Reg here, and welcome back to the blog and the return of the Fruitarian. It's day 54 of my 60-day raw food challenge, and man, just thinking back when this all started, I was getting back from Detroit and feeling like I just completely fallen off the wagon. You know, I was eating McDonald's French fries and things like that, and now here we are, almost 60 days later, 2 months, almost 2 months later, and things have really changed. When we first started, I was like, oh well, this one's going to be different because I'm not going to spend all the time talking about what I'm eating. I'm going to be just talking about like how I'm feeling, and slowly this has transitioned, and now I find myself looking at what other people are posting and what other people are talking about and trying to engage in a conversation, and seeing the conversations have gone from talking about fat shaming and sexism and racism. So it's been pretty wild, but this isn't a recap because this is only day 54. I still have 6 days to go, but I did think one thing that I said that I was going to do. I went back to Detroit last weekend, and I told you guys that I had planned to do a 3-day juice cleanse when I got back, just in case, for whatever reason, being in Detroit led to complications. And of course it did lead to some complications, and I realized that part of it was just the traveling, and not being fully prepared can lead to some real mishaps. And I ended up traveling without food on the way there, and then didn't eat for a couple of days, and ended up like recaffeinating, so I introduced caffeine back into my life, which hadn't been there for the entire time I was doing the cleanse. So I have this 3-day juice cleanse going on now, which is completely unnecessary because I'm not feeling toxic. So just what a challenge to give myself with the last couple of days to go and all these amazing foods. And so now I'm kind of in this deprived mode. Whatever. So that said, I thought I would spend today. Yesterday I started I talked a little bit about my story and how I became a vegan. And how I, stepped into a raw vegan lifestyle, like on my honeymoon. It was crazy, and the fact that I'm in a relationship with a meat eater. I didn't even go into like the details, talking about the fact that my husband's family, raised cattle, beef cattle. So there's really talk about opposites here, and so that's something that. Continues to be a little bit of I don't want to say a struggle, because I'm not trying to change him. I'm looking at myself and my relation to the world. But I wanted to talk a little bit today about the kind of activism that I see people engaging in on YouTube, and how that activism tends to favor people who are like raising awareness, interested in raising awareness about veganism and raising awareness about animal rights, and taking that form, the activism taking that form. And I was doing a little bit of reading, because I'm interested in something called consciousness raising, and I was trying to figure out why this awareness raising wasn't jiving well with my sense of raising consciousness, even though those two often are conflated. And so I was doing some reading, and I actually found an interesting article that talked about, well, first of all, just to define what consciousness raising as awareness raising. And I went to Wikipedia, and Wikipedia calls consciousness raising awareness raising groups of people, a group of people attempting to focus the attention of a wider group of people on some cause or condition. And Webster says the process of making people understand and be interested in important social or political issues. And that, to me, is not what I would call consciousness raising. Consciousness raising having a lot more to do with a person internalizing these issues, and not just being aware of it, but really internalizing it, and figuring out how it relates to one's own position in society. And so I just kept diving, and I found an article that talks about how a top-down approach to awareness raising with social and political issues, it misses the collective dimension of politics. Yes, people have views that they think correct and consequently think that those with opposing views are wrong, but it is through a process of struggle, argument, and reflection that political consciousness is shaped. Top-down truth-telling is a meager substitute for this process. And so that resonated with me. I was like, okay, so there definitely is a problem here. And they were comparing, modern awareness raising to the consciousness raising that was happening particularly in the women's movement in the 60s. And that consciousness raising looks at it in the political sense. It's attaining consciousness. It's finding one's true historical path, as opposed to the propaganda dispensed by the ruling elites. And so, in the women's movement, it was, realizing that, no, a woman's place is not in the kitchen, that there is, that women have can play a role in society that is much different than what's been laid out for them by men. And, black consciousness is the same. It's like we're not delegated to the role that we've been given in society, and we can step out of that. We can change that by coming to an understanding of who we are as human beings. And then I found another a website. I think it was sort of like the Herstory Project. Describes that kind of consciousness raising as understanding oneself in relation to one's society. Which to me is like, okay, now we're onto something, because now we're starting to see that we are, that there's the personal, and there are all those personal choices, like, do I eat meat or do I not eat meat? But also understanding that I am a part of something larger, and I have a role to play in that larger picture. So then I went a step further and I looked up critical consciousness, which comes out of that school of thinking in popular education, which is something that I'm a practitioner of. And critical consciousness focuses on achieving an in-depth understanding of the world, allowing for the perception and exposure of social and political contradiction. Critical consciousness also includes taking action against the oppressive elements in one's life that are illuminated by that understanding. So what I like about that definition is that it takes into consideration the step that follows an understanding of one's reality, one's world reality, and the contradictions that are present in that, and taking steps, taking action against oppressive elements. And so with that in mind, it's just, again, I just wanted to kind of give some thought to, awareness raising and, making people aware, which can just have an alienating effect. That can have an oppressive effect on people and make them actually feel paralyzed, because there are so many things going on that unless we understand that we are playing a role within these systems, and that these systems are, human constructions, human constructs, and that there is the potential for change, just having your awareness raised is not enough. It's being empowered to do something about it. So that's it. I mean, again, and this is just I'm just kind of raising this as a point of discussion, and I hope that you will do some investigation for yourself and think about, what's your approach to activism, if you have an approach to activism, or what kind of ways do you like to be engaged around issues? Are you interested? Do you respond? What do you respond to? Do you respond to just hearing about issues and knowing that something is wrong, or do you respond better to being engaged in a discussion about what might be done or why things are the way they are? So that's just something I'm throwing out there. I want to shout out Vegan Betty, who I just discovered blogging on YouTube, and I believe Vegan Betty's been blogging for about 3 years now. Vegan Betty describes herself as a person with autism and someone who was formerly morbidly obese. And her channel documents her journey. She also shares recipes and other ways that she maintains her health. It was great. I mean, this again goes back for me to having, someone with offering a different cultural perspective to the conversation. And she has one post about making purple drink. And to me, that just super, super resonated, the idea of purple drinks, red drinks, to my childhood, and how we were just fiends for that stuff, and it was all just sugar water. And so coming up with a healthy recipe for purple drink I thought that was just really amazing and culturally appropriate. So that. I also want to talk about my listen for the day. Ohana Bam is a Chicago-based artist. He's actually a 20-year-old Chicago-based artist, rapper. I guess you would call him a rapper, but the sound sort of pulls together, hip hop, Caribbean music and rock, and it's just a really great sound. And I'm going to recommend the track Reg Flowers and provide a link to that there. That's it today. I have gone on long enough. I hope that you found this interesting, and that you, again, as I said, do some research on your own, looking into the idea of activism, awareness raising, consciousness raising. If you like this post, please like it. Also, please subscribe to the channel. And that said, this is Reg checking out on day 54 of my 60-day raw food challenge. Continue to love yourselves. Have a great one. Peace.
And I love myself.
The world is a ghetto, big guns and dick inside.
I love myself.